How do we take charge of the quality of our own lives? How do we live a life filled with confidence and purpose? Look around you and see the number of people who are just going through the motions of an existence rather than embracing all that life has to offer them and reaching their full potential. Maybe you sometimes feel alone, adrift, aimless. What's the point? Unsure. Wouldn't you rather feel strong, powerful, confident, and glad to be you? I'll show you how. Hi, I'm Gina Gardiner, and I'm on a mission to positively impact the lives of 1 million people by 2023. People like you, helping them step into being their authentic selves, to recognise and own the genuine power buried within. Have the power to change, to feel self-confident, find their purpose and achieve fulfilment. I was once in a place that you are now. I know, however challenging, it doesn't have to stay that way. As a teenager, I was overweight, covered in eczema, and very unhappy, never feeling as if I fitted in. Things only started to change for me when, aged 21, I began teaching, and I found I absolutely loved it. I discovered a real passion for helping children to believe in themselves and to realise that they could succeed. I discovered how, when you're doing something you love and you do it wholeheartedly, success follows naturally. Successive promotions came quickly, and I became the youngest deputy head teacher or deputy principal of the largest school in the district, aged 29. I was in the happy position of helping students, parents, and colleagues to develop and grow. I made good friends and finally felt like I belonged. Life felt good. Then, in February 1983, I had a serious skiing accident, falling 200 feet down a black run, when the mogul I was sitting on suddenly gave way. Weeks later, medical staff cleared me to ski again as the deputy leader of the district school party. I was pushing my luck, and I paid the price. After a week of struggling with pain and fatigue, I found I was paralysed down one side of my body. It was terrifying. Following intense hospital treatment in Switzerland and in England, I regained enough mobility to return to school and the job I loved, despite struggling with pain and fatigue. Shortly afterwards, the sudden death of the head, the principal, meant that I was first acting head, and then I took over the school. It was my responsibility to lead the school forward. Over the next few years, deteriorating mobility caused by pain and fatigue forced me to use a wheelchair around the school. It was hard. However, I was determined not to let people down. I wanted my pupils and my staff to learn, to thrive, and to do well. What I didn't know is that things were going to get a whole lot worse. A violent sneeze, and I felt something go in my back. I'd ruptured a disc. The surgery resulted in failed back surgery syndrome. I fainted whenever I put my foot to the floor. Several nerve blocks and other medical interventions helped me regain some mobility, but it took me 18 months to learn to walk again. By Easter of the second year, I could finally make it to the end of my very small garden. I was coping and feeling optimistic about the future. I was relieved to have finally made it to the end of the school year. I enjoyed our staff meal that evening, but when I got home, I was suddenly violently sick. I felt a familiar excruciating pain in my back, and I knew immediately I'd done something significant. I'd ruptured yet another disc. Once again, surgery had complications, leaving me completely wheelchair-bound, totally unable to stand. A week after leaving hospital, I was back at school. At home, I was incredibly disabled, unable to even make a cup of coffee if my carer had forgotten to leave a cup out or fill the kettle. At school, I could use my brain, my hands, and as you can tell, my mouth works. I could operate effectively as the head and be doing something worthwhile and something I loved. There was no choice for me. I was a very hands-on leader, so when I found myself unable to walk at all, I desperately needed a way of ensuring excellence for my pupils and my staff. My wheelchair wouldn't fit through the door of the classrooms, so I had to think outside the box. I had a choice between sitting isolated in my office or finding a different way of being present. In fact, that seemingly insurmountable problem is what has led me to this point. One of the greatest gifts of my disability was the creation of a unique approach to leadership and empowerment. Necessity being the mother of invention, I created a very different approach to helping people step into their genuine, authentic power. Thus was born a unique and highly effective leadership and empowerment program based on mutual respect and people taking ownership of their words and their actions. Sustained success with this program led directly to my school winning several accolades, including being on Her Majesty's Inspectorate's, or HMI, Best 100 Schools in England list, not once, but twice during my leadership. I'm very proud of that. I was invited to work with large numbers of heads, teachers and governors, helping them develop their own leadership programs, improve the quality of teaching and learning, and empower teachers to raise standards. Still a serving head, I was invited to work as an advisor, trainer, facilitator, mentor and coach with the National College of Leadership, the DFES and the London Institute on a regular basis. Empowering people and the development of leadership were at the core of this work. Personally, I was struggling with increasing pain and fatigue. In 2004, I was given an ultimatum by my neurologist: give up my career or face being unable to drive, to be housebound and a complete invalid. In that moment, I hated him. But I also felt a sense of relief as I realised the very thing which helped me manage the pain and gave me a sense of purpose was killing me. When I retired, the feelings and sense of isolation I'd experienced as a teenager flooded back. But I wasn't ready to sit at home on a diet of daytime TV. I recognised I had to do something differently, to learn to love who I was just as I am, and to reinvent my professional life. How does anyone reinvent themselves, personally or professionally? By looking and learning and being open to new experiences. In 2006, I had just such an experience, one which would shift my thinking and expand my horizons exponentially. I joined 10,000 other people in attending a Tony Robbins motivational seminar in London. An integral part of this course was the fire walk, and I was thrilled to achieve the walk with a little help. Then, as I sat back in my wheelchair, the guy behind me, a double amputee, tipped out of his chair onto his hands, and he walked over the burning hot coals on his hands. I was humbled. His courage, determination, and ultimate success made me ask myself, am I self-limiting? How much more am I truly capable of? Since then, I've travelled widely to study and for pleasure, despite the restrictions that come with a wheelchair. Since then, I've attempted and succeeded with many previously unthinkable ventures. Who would have thought I'd become a 2-time #1 best-selling author? My first #1 best-selling book, Chariots on Fire, essentially lays bare the lows and the highs of my journey from adversity through my reinvention and on to continuing success as a strategic leadership consultant, author, trainer, speaker, and executive and life coach. The real struggle to improve my mobility was breaking free of self-limiting thoughts. I was determined that my lack of mobility would not define who I was. My wheelchair wouldn't limit what I could achieve. It would become my chariot on fire, my ride to freedom and empowerment. It was my choice to break free from any self-limiting thoughts. The lessons accumulated through my former life as a head teacher and those acquired from life in a wheelchair, and they make up the core of the book. My aim was and remains to give anyone reading it the strength, courage, motivation and self-belief to make similar positive choices for themselves. Chariots on Fire was really well received. Readers found it helpful and were hungry for even more insights and practical strategies. I was thrilled to have been of help. It rekindled my passion and sense of purpose. I knew there were many more people I could help. It was time to step things up. My second #1 bestseller, Thriving Not Surviving, The 5 Secret Pathways to Happiness, Success and Fulfillment, was the first stage of the plan to achieve my mission to positively impact the lives of 1 million people in the next 5 years. Life presents many challenges, detours, and seeming dead ends for each of us. They can stop you in your tracks, feeling overwhelmed, or you can use them to propel you on to achieving a better way of being. Thriving Not Surviving provides a route map to reaching your deepest desires more easily. It's filled with examples of people just like you, using its principles and strategies to navigate their way through life's challenges. The publication of my second book, just the start, I saw the need for a greater sense of community as I recognised so many people were feeling isolated or unheard. They needed somewhere safe on their journey to find validation, help, support and encouragement, somewhere where it was safe to be vulnerable and to shine. And so began the journey to create the Thrive Together Tribe, an online membership group where like-minded people could come for nurture and support. The Thrive Together Tribe is designed to bring great ideas, strategies and inspiration to its members. There are regular online sessions with great content, interactive coaching and visiting speakers. Members are encouraged to grow within the group and to support each other along the way. A central theme of the Thrive Together Tribe is to focus on the positive and what we can do rather than what we think we can't. Membership is aimed at those who want to feel confident, those who want to see life's possibilities, are prepared to take charge of the quality of their own life and willing to help others do the same. It's not a training course. The Thrive Together Tribe is a journey, a place where anyone, wherever they are on their individual path, can easily access great information and proven strategies designed to help them feel confident, empowered, and well-resourced. The Thrive Together Tribe isn't just a repository of information, it also functions as a support group with help on hand from me, my team, and other tribe members. I truly believe that, and research supports my view, that making lasting change in our lives is far more successful when we have the support of others and we're challenged through the process. The Thrive Together Tribe provides that challenging and supportive experience. We're here to help and support one another through life's challenges, to celebrate achievements, and to encourage each member to step into their power by being genuinely, authentically themselves, to choose to shine, to become a spiritual matriarch. Membership provides an ongoing program for success where members value themselves and each other in a completely non-judgmental environment. If you've recognized yourself somewhere in what I've been saying and want to be the best you can be, the Thrive Together Tribe is there to help you do that. I hope to welcome you there soon. With my love, Gina.